Welcome back to An Entrepreneur in Training. I'm your host, Ryan Zimmerman, a 20-year-old entrepreneur, and today we're diving into mental barriers and limiting beliefs. And boy, these are probably the biggest things that younger entrepreneurs deal with. That is just because when we're coming into the business field, as young as we are, we have so many doubts, self-confidence issues, just because we don't have the experience that a lot of older people have. And statistically, older people in general are the ones who are starting businesses. It's not as common for people, 20 years old, 25, 18. These are ages that most people just aren't starting businesses. And at that age, we just don't have a lot of those mental strengths that older people have when it comes to starting businesses. We're not set in our ways. A lot of times we don't have the right experience. And these things can cause so many mental barriers for us that we just break down and we choose not to achieve the goals we want just because either our age isn't right, we think we're too young, we think we don't have the experience to start, and all these things just aren't accurate. You can start at any age, really, and we're going to get into all this. I want to start off this episode with a powerful quote. This quote is in so many books that I've read personally, and it's just across everywhere. This quote's used all the time, so it's a little cliche, but I just think it's really important for this episode about limiting beliefs and building the right mindset. So the quote goes like this: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And this was obviously said by the legendary Henry Ford. This quote is just so powerful because it's right. I mean, whatever you choose to believe is what's going to become reality for you. If you decide that you can't, then you can't. If you decide you can, then you probably can. It really just depends on where you are mentally. It's so easy just to say, you know what? Business isn't for me. I don't think I can do that. It's not in the realm of possibilities for me. And if you say that to yourself, I don't mean say that out loud. I mean, actually, if you believe that within yourself, you most likely will never achieve that goal. And that goes for anything, whether it is starting a business or it's getting a degree, whatever it is. If you start off that journey by telling yourself, I don't think I can do this, or this isn't something that's possible for me, if that's how you start off your mindset on anything, it's never going to work out. So it's really important, and we'll get into a lot of different belief systems and limiting beliefs that younger people have, but just a really important one is it's so important just to really believe in yourself in every way. And I don't just mean saying, yeah, I believe in myself. I mean, you really have to truly digest it. You have to really believe in yourself and not just saying it out loud. You have to, at every moment, at any time, really just believe that you can accomplish anything. And it's cliche, and people say that all the time, but it's just to me, it's so important. It's been important in my journey. Honestly, it might be one of the most important mental roadblocks that was in my way, because I looked at really successful people and I just assumed, like most people, they must have had something, they must have had something different about them. But in reality, we're all the same. We can all accomplish the same things. And the difference between someone who can't and someone who can is literally whether they believe that they can or they can't. So that's how I'm going to start off this episode. But we're going to get into multiple limiting beliefs that younger people can have. And I'm going to kind of talk about my experience through sorting through these mental barriers and kind of how I reasoned with it, and obviously how I got through them to go ahead and start a business and become successful in my own business. So without further ado, let's get into breaking limiting beliefs. So the first limiting belief that I have in here is I'm too young to start. Now this, I really just can't really see this angle. I know a lot of people had this when they were starting. I never really had this one because I guess I was so confident that the thing I wanted to do, it was possible for me at my age, landscaping and lawn care. I knew that at my age, at 18 years old is what I was, I knew I'd be able to go mow lawns. So I didn't really feel like I was too young to get into it. Now, there were things that I kind of got into later on in the business that I was like, man, my age might play a big problem into this. And those were really, whenever I got into employing people and having to talk to these big corporations as far as big commercial deals, that's when I really saw my age. And I really did start to have some insecurities in how old I was, because Obviously when you're going to talk to some 35, 40-year-old manager at a big factory or something, they're going to look down on you a little bit, and you kind of just have to learn how to get past that. And at the end of the day, you really just have to reinforce your work rather than your age. You want to really just get past the point of like, I'm too young, but just make sure as long as you're doing quality work that stands up to even the older people in the industries that you guys decide to pursue in, as long as your work stands behind you and you can be proud of it, being too young really plays no part in it. So I'd say on that one, you just need to be really confident in what you're going and doing, and you have to really believe in that confidence. And as long as you have that, your age will never play a factor, because when you go have those meetings, when you go have those talks with people older than you, when you're really confident and you know a lot about your business, they're not even going to think twice about your age, because you're going to go in there with all that conviction, with all that confidence, and they're not even going to care. So that's definitely one really common belief, and I don't think it should have much play, and I think it's definitely an easy one to get past. Now, the second one, I would say I definitely have battled with a lot personally in my business, and I think a lot of people younger will battle with this. And the limiting belief number 2 is that I just don't know enough, and this is definitely super common. I'll go ahead and just give a personal experience with this. Obviously, when I started my landscaping and mowing business, I was mainly just mowing lawns, and that's probably the cheapest service that you can offer as a lawn mowing company, and that's all I offered. So I was just out there, mowing the grass. It was really straightforward. A 6-year-old can go mow grass. It's not really difficult. But when my business really started to blow up and I started to get these calls for installing plants, installing retaining walls, those bigger, more advanced jobs, I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't know how to do any of that at the time. I had never planted a plant. I had never built a retaining wall. I had never built a flower bed, installed mulch. I'd never done any of that stuff. And as the jobs came in, I was super, super nervous. I really was, because I wanted to take the jobs on because they were such good money. But I had the limiting belief in me that I was like I don't feel like I know enough to do this, and I don't feel comfortable enough offering this to these customers without knowing enough. At the end of the day, the only way to learn is to do. And I decided just to push past that limiting belief for myself and my business. And, I went online, I learned everything I could, watched tons of videos on installing plants, on installing flower beds, installing retaining walls, how to do it correctly, what the pros do. I spent hours and hours just trying to become confident in those services. And I went ahead, and when those jobs came in, even though I was super nervous to get into them because I didn't feel like I had enough experience, I felt like I just had to do it, and if I failed, then it was just a fail. And if I succeeded, then all of a sudden I get to offer this new service and make, way more money than I did before. So I think not knowing enough is a strength. And I think it should give you motivation to learn, and it should give you motivation to just move into these unknown areas, because it can really be a big growth. So, if there's a business that you're interested in starting and you just feel like, you don't know maybe enough about it to get into it, maybe the best course of action is just doing it and learning as you're in it. Completely transparently, my first flower bed installation job, the very first one I ever did, I literally learned how to do it as I was at the job site. I did it by the skin of my teeth, and by the end of the job, I installed an amazing flower bed for this guy. He was so happy about it. I was so happy about it. I took tons of pictures, and it went amazingly. But the only reason I was able to do that is because I took the leap of faith into that job, even though I had no clue what I was doing, because I was confident that I could learn, and I was confident that as I was at that job, I was not going to leave unless the client got a good product, and I was confident that it was done right. So sometimes you just have to make those jumps, even though you might be unsure, and you might be unsure that you know what you're going to do, and you might even be nervous you're going to fail. But that kind of goes into the next limiting belief is, what if I fail? I'm gonna start this one off with a quote as well, because I really like this quote and I put it in here as well. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And that was by Thomas Edison. And I really love that quote in relation to business, because just about every part of business has about 10,000 ways that you can fail in. And it's so true. And honestly, it's amazing. And the reason that's amazing is because once you get past the 10,000 failures, what you are left with is like a money-making machine. And the 10,000 failures are the things that gets you to this end money-making machine at the end. And it's great. So let me list off some examples of things that have about 10,000 ways to fail. To start off, just marketing in general. Running ads on Facebook, running ads on Instagram, running ads on Angie's List, all these different softwares that you can run ads on. Man, there's about a million different ads you can make that aren't going to work. And there's probably only 10 that you can make that will work. And it's about failing over and over again, remaking the ad, spending thousands of dollars failing that you can finally find an ad or find a way to make, a profitable ad. And then, once you find that profitable ad, it'll just balloon up and you'll make all that money back and make profit on top of that. So that's just a way in advertising that you can fail 100 to 1,000 times. But once you win, it not only makes up for all the failures, but now you have this ad that is just income producing like crazy and blows your business up. So, and that's just the first way that failure can get in the way, because there were so many jobs that I went into that I priced so wrong at the beginning of my business that I went into, priced it maybe $50 and ended up spending 5 hours there. I ended up making $10 an hour some of the days at the beginning of my business. It was not the best, but that's when I learned, because after you price one job wrong and you're there for 5 hours to make $50, now hey, something like this takes 5 hours. I need to price it better than that. And then once you figure out how to price things, you're making way more money for your time. And you can only learn that through failing, by pricing things wrong. And that goes for, I can go forever about failing. The amount of times I failed in my business, but it made my business stronger, is uncountable. I would say every strength my business has came from a failure that I learned from. And that's just so important. Failure is direct feedback that this does not work in your business, and to change something. And then once you change it, it may work a little better, it may work a little worse. But if it works worse, then you know that that's not the right change. And if it gets better, you're moving in the right direction. So definitely don't be afraid to fail going into business or going into anything in life. I know this is obviously also said all the time, don't be afraid to fail. Failure is learning. People say that all day, every day. So I'm obviously just repeating the same things here, but they're just so true. And that's especially true for younger people like me getting into business. Failing, we just got out of school. We're all fresh out of high school, fresh out of, we may have just dropped out of college, or we're in college right now, and we're taught, to fail is bad. If you fail a test, your grade's bad. If you fail a class, you got to redo it. And we're definitely taught at a young age that failing is not a good thing. But once you get into reality and you get into business, or you get into, a career one day, obviously failure can be really bad in some aspects, but most of the time you can use a failure and really turn it to an advantage and learn from it. So I did write down here some tips, but I actually ended up deleting them because I think there's really only one tip I can give you for helping to break these limiting beliefs. And the first tip I can give you is just to do. And I will probably say this every episode, but just start something, whatever you're wanting to start. If you're listening to this podcast, you most likely, there's something in life that is just, you really want to do deep down, but you're holding yourself back. There's a move you want to take, but you're holding yourself back. I would say everybody has something like that. So my advice here is just to go for it. And once you finally go for it and you step your foot in the door, that's when you can finally start to feel these limiting beliefs come in. And that's where my tip comes in. Once you start to feel these different limiting beliefs, all you really need to do is identify them. And once you identify the different limiting beliefs that are affecting you, just be aware of them. I wouldn't say you need to specifically take control of them or, do any actual really big step to get rid of them. I say just be aware of them. Like, if you realize you're getting into something and you're like, I'm kind of afraid to fail right now, just accept that, be in that, and just to know that, think about it logically. I am afraid to fail, but you have to think past that. You have to think, when I do fail, or if I do fail, I can come back from that and I will know how not to fail next time. So it's really important. And I would say the only tip for those is just to be aware of them and think logically about them. Think why that feeling is coming, and how to maybe move past that feeling. So the next segment here for this episode is about building the right mindset. And that this will really go for business in general. This really isn't anything but business tips here. But a lot of these, I would say these are probably the biggest mindset growth tips that I've needed in my business. And the first one is growth over perfection. Now, this one's really big for me specifically because I'm a huge perfectionist. And I know a lot of people are. I've talked to a lot of people who are perfectionists or overthinkers, and it's just really important to not be in business, because your business is never going to be perfect. And that's just the end of the road. Your business will never be perfect, because if it was, you'd be making the most money in the world. You'd be a billionaire, and you probably wouldn't be listening to this podcast. Your business does not need to be perfect. Your business needs to grow. And that's really important. And that's something that I really never fully took into consideration. I'm still trying to learn that to this day. I spend a lot of time trying to perfect things. Like, I send email follow-ups when it comes to quotes for big jobs, and I'll sit there and literally edit these emails over and over again, trying to make them perfect just so people, can read them right. I'll sit for an hour on just one email trying to make it perfect for the person I'm sending it to. And really, that's just not necessary. And that goes for so many different things in business. I would recommend really just measuring your growth rather than trying to perfect every little part of your business. The most important things is that your business is growing, and that you are expanding into different branches of your business, like making sure you are doing email follow-ups at all, or making sure that if you get a phone call coming and you miss it, you call them back. Just doing smaller things will exponentially grow your business over trying to perfect little tiny things here or there in your business or in your life. It's more important to do bigger things. It's kind of like, for example, it'd be like, let's say you're an overweight person, and you decide to start taking multivitamins to try to become healthier. I would say the biggest step in that situation would be maybe to try to go to the gym and maybe eat better. That'd probably be a lot better for your health than taking a multivitamin. So in business, you don't really want to take the multivitamin. You want to make sure you get the business healthy first, if that makes sense. So instead of adding an automated email follow-up system, which is just taking the multivitamin, maybe instead you work on your website and you make sure that customers who are finding your business know how to contact you. I've definitely seen a lot of that in other people's businesses and even in mine. I didn't even have a website, and I was trying to perfect these emails and stuff, and it wasn't where I needed to allocate my resources. I would say you need to have the right mindset on growing and make sure your business is healthy over taking the multivitamin and trying to perfect every little part of your business, because you'll just get overwhelmed and you'll probably overwork yourself and not really get a lot done in that situation. The next mindset, and this is actually the mindset of a lot of billionaires in the world, they'll all kind of talk about this, and it's for good reason. It's having a long-term vision for your business. It's not thinking short-term, it's thinking very long-term. There's a statistic that I found, and it's only 40% of small businesses are profitable, and it often takes 2 to 3 years to reach that point. So that means you most likely will have to be working in your business full-time for 2 or 3 years before you really even see, sometimes even $1 or $2 from your business. And I wouldn't say that's for every business. I've been lucky enough in mine that I've actually become profitable here in the second year of business. But it just goes to say that, if you want to make money tomorrow, you're going to be disappointed in starting a business. It's just not going to happen like that. You really need to have a long-term vision for your business. And it's really important that every day you work at your business, you're thinking about the future. So I'd say an example for myself, and this is what I started to implement at the end of last year to really get ready for this year. But as I was working in the field, I was really pretending like I was just another crew member, and how I could make all the processes more efficient for when I step out of the field. So what I mean by saying that is I obviously have the goal to not be in the field anymore and making, bigger deals and be out doing bigger jobs with some other guys, not really mowing anymore. The only way I can make that happen is to be in the field mowing and figure out exactly what I need to do to optimize the routes, optimize a workflow on the mowing team so that I can get out of the field and be really confident that the mowing team has all the tools they need to run an efficient route and make money doing the mowing without me being there. So it's really important as you're growing your business to just think about the future of you not being on the job anymore. So you want to make sure you're really narrowing down, teaching the people you're working with, and really figuring out a plan for you to step out of the field and to have people working, doing quality work, and you can teach them to do that. So have a long-term vision for your business. Think about what you want, to come from your business. If you want to end up being out of the field and not working, you need to plan early on how to make that happen. And the last mindset kind of piece that I have is resilience. Here's another quote for this one. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Winston Churchill. This quote's great. I mean, obviously it goes with resilience. It's really just about keep moving forward. I mean, at the end of the day, business is all about falling down, getting back up, falling down, getting back up. And after 2 or 3 years of that, you're so far ahead where you were before. And it all takes being able to fall down and get back up. I mean, in business, you're going to have so many challenges. I mean, every single day is going to be a challenge between, having your guys calling you saying the truck's broken down or the lawnmower won't start or the weed eater broke or we're out of string or, man, I don't know what's wrong with the mower. The truck's making weird noises. The trailer fell off. We're sliding down the road. I mean, I can go forever about so many days where I got calls just of these crazy things happening. And, I'm already on another job trying to hurry up and get it done because we're on a strict time frame. And then the guys call me saying, the truck's blowing up, and then I have to go run to the mowing guys, figure out what's wrong with the truck, get it fixed up, and then get back to the other job, help that get wrapped up. I mean, every single day is a challenge, and it's just about, getting through those challenges. And every time you get through a new challenge, you're better the next time to get through it. And that's what it's all about. If you ever face a challenge and you move on from it, you should always be able to face that challenge again and win much faster. I know what to do when the truck blows up. I have sources now that I can call and they'll be out there to fix it. Sometimes they'll even come out and fix it for me because we're good friends out on the road where it's broken at. So I have good people around, and it's really about, getting through those challenges and learning from them and just keep moving forward. There were so many days that I really could have just threw in the towel. And there's a lot of times I wanted to. I mean, some of my close friends know about some times where I was really struggling, last year. There were some times I was really struggling last year as far as, my mentality, because I was defeated a few times. I felt all these limiting beliefs come down on me for a while. I don't know enough. Am I too young for this? Am I going to be able to do this? I mean, that came across my mind so many times last year, and my closest friends would definitely vouch for that. And it's just so important that you get past it, because business is beautiful, and it gives you so many opportunities in life that most people don't get, and it gives you the opportunity to help other people. I have 3 to 4 really good guys that work for me, and it feels really good to be able to give to them, pay them, feed their families, and give them a roof over their head. I mean, business is great. It really gives you opportunities to help other people. It gives you opportunities to help yourself, and it gives you opportunities to go do things in life that not everyone gets to do. And I just wish for everybody to be able to do something like that. And especially if you start at my age, if you're my age or you're younger or you're a little older, I really hope if it's something you want to do, you really jump off the fence and just get your foot in the door and go do something. Here in the later episodes of the podcast, I'm going to give some really good specific advice. I know in these last episodes, I've given more broad advice and kind of more just explained, where I'm at and what I'm thinking and things I've been through. But I will give some really specific advice in the coming episodes as far as like how to really actually start a business, what the steps you should take to start a business from scratch. I think that's going to be in the next couple episodes, and that's going to be really useful to actually get some actionable steps moving forward. But for now, I really want to set the baseline for, where you should be mentally to really start your business and really achieve your goals that you want to achieve. And it doesn't have to be business. If you're listening to this and you want to go achieve and go get a really good career, you can use a lot of these tips and tricks, and you can really get through a lot of these mental barriers for that as well. So to wrap up this episode, I really just want to say, limiting beliefs are just stories we tell ourselves. None of it's based in reality, and it's all just in our heads. And it's really important that we challenge these stories in our heads, and we really challenge, the way we've been living our lives up until this point, because whatever we really believe we can do, we can make it happen. And that's really the most important thing. Everybody listening to this right now, I said this before on the podcast, but everybody listening to this has something they really want to do in life. And whether it's deep down or they've said it out loud, it's in there. And it's just really important that you don't live your whole life without at least trying one time to achieve those goals. And the best time to start is now. And I really mean that, and you should really believe that. And the best time to start is now. At least get your foot in the door and at least take a step forward, and don't worry about any of the limiting beliefs holding you back. Everyone has mental barriers. Everyone doubts their self, but it's so important that you think through those and really sort through that. That's it for today's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was able to help at least one or two people sort through some of their mental barriers and really get through some of that. So thanks for tuning in to An Entrepreneur in Training. I hope this episode was able to inspire somebody to get over the fence and really start something new in their life. Next week, I'm really planning on sharing how to actually start a business from scratch and like legit actionable steps you can take to start your business, because I think that would really help a lot of people who actually want to start a business actually do the first 2 or 3 steps that you need to start a business. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys next week.